What's the difference between an accountant and a CPA? So what exactly is the difference? Well, I'm going to be going through that on today's video. So what's up, everybody? Chris Hervishon. If you're watching this video on a recording, by all means, please ask some questions in the comments below. Happy to go back and answer those and continue the dialogue right there on YouTube. So what is an accountant? So an accountant commonly has a degree in accounting, but maybe not. So maybe they're just somebody who took some online classes. Maybe they just learned it, by trade, working in a CPA firm as an admin or something like that. Maybe they went and got their EA certification from the IRS, but they could be any number of things. But an accountant is not a CPA. So accounting is a very broad term. It's a very large range of services that covers. It covers everything except for audit. So bookkeeping, tax, accounting work, outsourced CFO, that can all be done by a non-CPA. So you can also, as I've said, you can also prepare tax returns so long as you have a P10. Now, P10 is issued by the IRS. So what is a CPA? Well, a CPA is a certified public accountant. A CPA is a license that is granted by the state. So we've got 50 states. Everybody's got their own unique requirements to get a license. They're largely the same, but there are some nuanced differences between states. Certainly, if you're looking to become a CPA, go check out your State Board of Accountancy's website. Look at the requirements. They are different. The exam itself is uniform across the states. That's why it's called the Uniform CPA Examination. But the state license is nuanced between states. Now, what is a CPA? Well, they've obtained the license, as I said. To get there, you generally have to have 150 hours of 150 semester hours of education, which basically means you've either got a master's or an MBA for the most part now. That's relatively new nuance to the CPA. It started right when I was starting to sit for the exams, probably 12 years ago, something like that. You have to have a year of public accounting experience, so working for somebody who is a CPA in a public accounting firm generally. You pass a 4-part exam. The exam is really, really, really hard. Really hard. Trust me on that. And then to maintain your license, you've got to have a minimum of 40 hours of CPE per year. And that's governed differently by the states as well. You report that back to the state to maintain your license. I know here in South Carolina, we've got different ethical requirements. We have to have, I believe it's 4 hours of ethics CPE that's included in there. We have some carryover rules, things like that. And, the states will also govern how much time you can spend in self-study CPE, how much of it has to be live. It's a lot like a lawyer's CLE, so continuing legal education. This is CPE, same type concept. Basically, they just want to make sure that you're on top of the newest and most cutting edge stuff as a CPA, presenting yourself to the public. Like I said, we've got strict ethical requirements. So there's a lot of things that we can and can't do. And then you may or may not be subject to peer review. So what is peer review? That's when another firm would come in and take a look at your work and tell you basically whether or not you're doing a good job, right? Audit and review type work are subject to peer review. So if the CPA that you use does audit work, they're going to get peer reviewed, generally speaking. So the CPA exam, as I was saying, it's really, really hard. To be honest with you, I don't remember the pass rates being exactly this high back when I was taking it. So I'm a little bit bitter about this. I just found this a couple minutes ago before I went and started recording this video. But the cumulative pass rate, I don't know, call it about 50%, a little bit north of that. And actually, I found this statistic because I did, like I said, I don't remember it being this high. And from the AICPA, here's the 2013 passing rate. And this was 2 years after I passed the exam. I became certified in 2011. And yeah, you'll see these cumulative pass rates here. All of them are below 50%, 47%, 48%, except for BEC. BEC has always been the easiest exam. That's the general business portion of the exam. It covers all sorts of stuff. It's very, very broad. Back when I took it, back in my day, it covered IT type stuff. It covered economics, just general business type stuff. But I thought that was pretty crazy to see how that pass rate has gone up over time. And like I said, I'm not bitter at all about that. So what can a CPA do? Basically any accounting service, but only a CPA can perform an audit. And we all know what an audit is, right? That's basically when you're going in and certifying that the financial statements that you are auditing are presented in a manner that is materially correct, basically. So the accounting value chain, and this actually comes straight out of a Quora post that I did several days ago, which basically talks about the value of services and how much automation potential there is. But it goes, and this doesn't include tax. So tax is its own animal, as is audit. But when we're talking about actually performing accounting services, that's your bookkeeping, accounting, outsourced controller, outsourced CFO. What are those type things? Well, that's where you're preparing the books on some level between those 4 different steps and providing guidance and advice. Those are your higher value type services. So that's going to be up in the outsourced CFO. The bookkeeping, that is also an accounting function. That's on the bottom left there. That's mostly a data entry type function, doing account reconciliations, things like that. But there's you can see it, there's a wide range, right? And this just goes to show that accounting is very, very broad. So you've got tax, you've got audit, you've got the accounting function, very, very broad. You've got consulting. I didn't even mention forensic accounting, valuation, all sorts of things. A lot of those things you do need to be credentialed for to just even get business, let alone being regulated. But it's a very, very broad subject, and generally, CPAs are the only ones that can do audit. Accountants can do everything else. So, wrapping up, a couple of thoughts. All CPAs are accountants. Not all accountants are CPAs, right? To be a CPA, you've got to go through the licensing process, which is education. That's passing the exam. It's having experience, and then you need to maintain that license. So, keeping that high ethical standard. Continuing education, a lot of it. The best CPAs, they take anywhere north of 60 hours per year of continuing education as opposed to the 40. There's a stat out there about that. But they're staying on top of things, staying on top of tax law, things like that. So CPAs have to rise to a high level of education and a high ethical standard. I just mentioned that. And the CPA exam is really, really hard. You can take that away from this. So here are the resources for today. I'm going to link the YouTube video to the slides. The slides will be out on Google Slides and also on SlideShare. So please do check those out. Link to my website. A couple interesting articles here. The IRS, how to choose a tax return preparer. It kind of goes through the different qualifications that you need to have in order to be a tax preparer. 2 Quora articles here. How much should an accountant cost for a small business? That's where that graphic I just showed you, this one, came from. It's an interesting read, I think, but it's basically my manifesto on accounting service pricing. So please do check that out. And then another Quora post here, what are the signs of a good accountant? That's a really good read as well, which is supplementary to this presentation. And then the AICPA has got an interesting FAQ page out there about CPAs versus accountants and the difference and things like that, which basically just recaps what I've told you today. So let's connect. Chris@betterwaycpa.com, 843-608-0298. That's the phone number. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Quora, Pinterest, and Instagram. So pretty much everywhere. That's it for me today. Thank you, and I will see you next time.